Welcome to Bid on You, the show for the girlies building the life, love, and career they actually want. So, if you're ready to bet on yourself, don't be silly. Join the community.
Welcome back to Bid on You. This week we have a very special debriefing to get into, okay? We're having a solo episode because I needed to talk to y'all about Summer House. I needed to talk to y'all about reality TV and pop culture. But most importantly, I needed to talk to y'all about what happens when you're highly visible in a space, yet incredibly unprotected. And I think that plays out so strongly in what we see with Ciara Miller and Wes Wilson and Amanda Batula. And whether you watch Summer House or whether you are a reality TV fan or not, it's something deeply personal as a Black woman that I felt like needed to be discussed. So we're going to do a special episode this week. Stick around and let's get into it. Okay, so to give you the background here, if you're not familiar with the Summer House universe, and if you are, I don't want to say living under a rock, but you're in a space in your life where perhaps socials of the medias are just not inundating your brain, can't relate, but here I'll give you a quick update. So picture it. There's Ciara Miller, beautiful, stunning, sensational, iconic, never been done before woman, okay? And she is originally from Georgia. And she went on the show Summer House. Summer House is on Bravo. It originally started as a friend group that goes from the city where they live out into the Hamptons on the weekends and just has like a share house and has fun and parties and all that. At a glance, obviously that sounds very high level and very like, okay, how can anything be that much deeper? However, over the years, they have actually tackled and addressed some pretty significant social issues that other Bravo shows, especially, and also just across the board reality TV, have not really done. So Summer House has positioned themselves as a space where real conversations can happen, especially since Ciara joined the cast. She joined the cast, I want to say like season 3 or 4. And I was not an original watcher of Summer House. I watched Summer House Martha's Vineyard. And that's kind of what led me into then my friends being like, you have to go back and watch Summer House because Martha's Vineyard was a predominantly Black version of Summer House. Sadly, was short-lived. However, I was like, fine, I'll go back and watch. But I started from the season that Ciara was on because I personally was excited to see somebody that looked like me on the show. So maybe one day I'll go back and watch season 1 and 2, but I've been caught up since season 3. And Ciara comes on the show. She is the first Black woman on the show and in that space. And we know, as we talk about a lot on this show, the weight that can carry. And I'm going to get into that a little bit in the parallels that I am seeing and have seen within my own life experience. But Ciara comes on the show. She's pretty quickly like a fan favorite to many. And then also, of course, you have some people in the Bravo universe fandom who aren't as awake, and they have been attacking her over the years. Surprise, surprise, the world that we live in. But for the most part, everyone, including the cast, she's a nurse, she's a model. They see her as just this beautiful human as well. We don't know her, but from what we see, we get that as well. Ciara's on the show. She dates this man named Austin. Austin is on the show Southern Charm. I have not watched Southern Charm, but Austin's on that show. They have a crossover, basically think of it as like a Disney Channel crossover episodes show called Winter House. Winter House is just what it sounds like. They go to a house in the winter instead of the summer. This is where she begins dating Austin. That leads to a myriad of issues throughout the seasons, which we're not here to talk about. But it establishes, number one, the first white man that she publicly dates on television. And there's a myriad of issues that happen with him, one being that he calls her a Jezebel. But regardless, you can look it up and get into that. And then she kind of has this experience where she's embarrassed by another cast member who hooks up with Austin. This sounds so reality TV drama coded, but regardless, that relationship ends. Ciara has a lot of backlash from it, both in her life, but also what we can see online and kind of the things that she was being called, not only by Austin directly, but also by fans watching, Black, white, whatever. There was a lot of negative blowback that she received from dating him and then also kind of being played by him on national television. So in enters West. West comes onto the show about 2 seasons ago, and Ciara's been burned almost kind of recently. She's like, I'm not trying to date anybody publicly like that. And I'm definitely not trying to repeat what happened with Austin, given the racial dynamics, etc. But however, we all watch her relationship develop with Wes. Not me about to smile because anyway. And at the time, it's very heartfelt. It's very cute. It's very sweet. We're seeing our girl be treated well, we think. And we're like, wait, this is it. How exciting. And so we all ship them. And then, as they do, Wes disappoints her. He disappoints all of us. Basically goes out there and like breaks up with her and then tells everybody it was never really giving anyway. And does like a page 6 or something article. So it's just all around mess. The past 2 seasons of the show, West has been trying to essentially make up for it and get back in Ciara's good graces and kind of convince us that like he's this good guy and things just didn't work out between them. And more specifically and most recently, in the past couple of episodes of this current season that's airing now, we have been kind of led as the audience to believe that West wants to be back with Ciara, that he just doesn't know how to earn her trust back or get her back, and he's just so devastated by this, and he just really thinks that, quote, everything between them was dreamy when they were together. And he not only is saying, I want us to be friends again, but also like it's kind of implied and also physically done. He like is really touchy with her, and all these different things are happening that lead us as the audience to be like, oh snap, West and Ciara around too. Like maybe she should give him another chance. So the way that the show works, Summer House, right? I find this interesting, but it's filmed in the summer, and then I don't know why everyone's messaging me, so we'll take this out. But it's filmed in the summer, and then it airs in the spring of the following year. So right now, what we're watching is the events of summer 2025 and spring of 2026. And we don't know, they all live in New York, actually. So we think. So we don't know like what's happening in their day-to-day lives at present time until the past couple of weeks have been filled with speculations and rumors. And I haven't even explained this side of it. So that's Ciara's side of it. There's also basically the main character of the show who started the show, and it was like based off his friend group named Kyle. Kyle is married to Amanda. Amanda and Kyle have a long-standing relationship pretty much throughout the entire Summer House franchise, and they have recently separated. If you watch the show, doesn't really matter. They had a tumultuous relationship in many ways, at least what we get to see from the audience perspective. And, a lot of people were like, oh, leave him, Amanda, leave him, Amanda. I had my own views sometimes as to like how she would handle things, how he would handle things. But regardless, they are separated, I believe, filed for divorce. And that we thought that was a storyline. Fast forward, the past few weeks, while they've been separated, there has been this speculation around none other than West and Amanda. Now, if I were to draw you a diagram, Ciara's here. She's friends with Amanda. Okay. Kyle's here. He's friends with West. Okay. Kyle and Amanda were married. Ciara and West dated. Amanda and Ciara are supposed to be besties. That's the most important part of all of this. Now, Amanda goes over to her bestie's ex, who is a questionable present, and now they're together. They released a statement this week that's basically just like, we have seen the speculation and we couldn't deny our Romeo and Juliet of it all, and we're together. There's rumors out there that Ciara was not actually spoken to by them. I know in the statement that I read, I'm not in those people's lives, but from what I know in Marissaville, USA, I didn't see Ciara's name mentioned because they said something about, we do not want it to seem that we're careless, loose quote, in doing this, and we never, intended for this to happen, but here we are today. No direct apology to Kyle, which even Kyle was like, who cares about me? But no direct apology to Kyle, and more importantly, no direct apology to or acknowledgement of Ciara and her feelings. And so while this may sound like, okay, Summer House drama, reality TV, girl, who cares? If you don't watch the show, if you do care, you watch the show. So the two go together. But people who don't even watch the show have gotten involved this week because of the overall cultural and identity politics and just overall ripple effect that this happening has on larger conversations in society. And I know that, people are like, oh, I'm not into pop culture, I'm not into reality TV, but I do always argue that reality TV is a sociological study. It's microcosms of what we're actually experiencing in the day-to-day world, especially in America. And then if you are a person of color, if you are a woman, and put it all together, if you are a Black woman on television, what you will be experiencing and what will be filmed and what will be publicized for the world often just reflects the experiences that we're having privately in our day-to-day lives. And so the reason that so many of us feel so ignited by what's happening with Ciara is because, unfortunately, we can relate. Maybe we weren't on reality TV. Maybe we've never even dated, maybe you've never dated outside of your race. Maybe you have, and this is bringing something up for you. But everyone seems to be able to find something that they connect to, whether it's being the only Black person in a space, whether it's having an ex get with a friend and having someone who wasn't really a girl's girl backstab you, whatever the case may be. People are finding a lot of resonance with Ciara being a person who, from what we can tell as the audience, was just being a great friend to Amanda along the way. Also worth noting, she's supporting her through her separation. She's trying to figure things out with West, and she, for the most part, she don't bother nobody. You know what I'm saying? She don't bother nobody unless you bother her. And so this just felt like a shot at someone that was very undeserved. And I think that's what a lot of people have taken away from it. But what I want us also to talk about today with Bid on You is what can happen when not only you're not really in charge of your narrative, because we know that there's editing and there's behind the scenes, and reality TV is its own beast in and of itself, but what can happen when you're very visible? So we're not going to say you're not represented. You're represented. Sometimes you're the sole representation, but you're represented, you're accounted for, but you're not protected. And the reason that I'm speaking about that specifically with Ciara as well is probably one episode prior to this news breaking, there was a really big moment that happened. There was one that happened seasons ago around the time of the 2020 movement to be more inclusive and to consider the experience of Black people in America and so forth. They had a really great conversation about what it means for them to be cast members on a predominantly white show and network. And so Summer House has kind of established this precedence that they will have those harder conversations and really sort of peel back the layer of what cast members are experiencing, not only in the world, but in the world of Bravo. And they have another conversation similar to this season where Ciara, her friend Mia, who's also a Black woman, and KJ, who is West's friend, is how he's introduced, who is the first Black man, which I didn't even click he was the first, but that just tells you he's the first Black man on the show. They all basically share their experience and how they can't show up in the space in the same way that their white counterparts can. And by that, it's like a silly show too. As much as we're talking about the depth of the show and the depth of these ripple effects, they're jumping in the pool and they're like drinking and they're carrying on. And as we know, there is often a different life experience and standard that Black people, people of color, others in a space have, right? And so they're speaking to this. Their cast members are seemingly listening. There are controversial responses, in my opinion, but they're listening. Amanda actually gets up to comfort Ciara as she's sharing some of the backlash that she experienced having dated West. And not even a week or so later, this news breaks. So I think something that really stands out to me, I made a TikTok about this that people are really connecting to this week. Essentially, I was talking about what I want to see from Ciara next and how she can take these lemons and turn them into lemonade. But as I've been on the interwebs and as I have, been responding to comments and also scrolling and keeping up with the situation, it's been bringing a lot up for me. And I think that, as many of you know, Bid on You was born from my history with the whole Bama Rush virality and myself being one of the first Black girls to integrate sororities at the University of Alabama and then going on to be the first Black president of my sorority of about 400 women. And a lot of what I have experienced throughout life, I don't always explicitly speak to, at least not this point in the juncture, because all opinions are my own, none for my employer, none for anything I'm affiliated and associated with. However, I felt the need to speak to this because it brought up a lot of what I have experienced throughout life, in particular, while I was at Alabama, especially, and being in predominantly white spaces and feeling like, okay, if I date outside of my race, will there be backlash for me within my race? Will there be backlash for me in the other race? Just all of the things that can happen that are associated with that. I can deeply relate to Ciara. But I also think we can relate to sharing vulnerability. So that goes back to the representation part, sharing our vulnerability to a place of visibility, right? People are well aware of Ciara. They think she's beautiful. They think she's this star. Even her castmates treat her that way. Yet that did not keep them from hurting her. And I think when we look at visibility without protection, we have a situation like this with Ciara, where maybe you're showing up every day at work and you're a star person on the team. You're one of the best employees. You're always hitting your metrics. You're always supporting everyone else on the team. But maybe you're not getting that promotion. Maybe you don't put a smiley face at the end of your email, and next thing you know, you're labeled aggressive or angry, right? We're talking about when you do date someone outside of your race and you have in the back of your mind the fear that even when you date within your race these days, you have the fear in the back of your mind. Do you see me as a full person? Do you understand the things that I experience walking through this life in this body? Or is there a version of me in your mind that is placated? And all of these feelings are coming up for many of us. And I think what we see with what happened with Ciara is that it's not enough just to be seen. I need you to see me and protect me, because I think it brings up a larger conversation around allyship, right? I cannot tell you the amount of times, not only in undergrad, but in my career, where I have had people that I thought had my back and were my allies, right? I don't know why I did that, but y'all get it. And when the rubber met the road, they did not. Okay. They met the road to go the other way. And when I needed you to have my back and speak up that Marissa, she deserves this promotion. She pushed for this and she got us these numbers and she made this money for us and she brought these people in and she did that. That was not there. When I needed you to have my back and say, hey, let's not label her this name or that name or use these microaggressions toward her. You privately told me you felt that way, but then you publicly might have left me out to dry. And this is just not my experience in my career. It's been my experience growing up in high school and college. And so seeing what's happening with Ciara and really coming to you guys pretty vulnerably right now, I don't want to necessarily get into a whole breakdown of race, racial politics, identity politics, all of that. But I do want to acknowledge that this is a lot deeper than the standard reality TV drama, right? This speaks to the need in spaces for protection. This speaks to the need to not only hear my story, but take action from that. If you hear me share how I felt ostracized, if you hear me share how I felt underrepresented, overlooked, counted out, under-rewarded, then if you have the opportunity to help me, then help me. And not only that, in this scenario, if you have the opportunity to not contribute to that harm, then at the very bare minimum, at least, please, I beg of you, do that. Because in this scenario, for this person to be her friend, for these castmates to be sitting there and saying they understand the things she experienced and then go out and perpetuate it, go out and open her up to looking like an even bigger fool for the internet that previously attacked her around the same man, is beyond me. And I think that the deeply human thing that people can relate to is just feeling like when you needed people the most, they didn't have your back. And I think with Ciara, this is not, where her story ends by any means or any stretch of the imagination, but it is worth that conversation of when someone actually needs you, are you showing up for them? Right? When I need you to be a real friend to me, not a friend on TV, not a friend for the cameras, not a friend for Instagram. When I need you to be a real ally to me, are you stepping up to the plate? And I think that this is a pain that so many of us have felt and are so familiar with. And that's why it's leading us to this place of backing Ciara, right? But not only that, it's leading us to this place of introspection, to think about all the times where we needed someone to not only say they had our back, but have it in action, and we didn't have it. And so I think that's leading us to a really great dialogue around not only having each other's backs, but being able to call people out when they say one thing and they do another. And I don't think that it needs to be a cyberbullying situation or anything like that. But I did think that all of the drama and all of the Summer House conversation and Carl's a mess, that needed to be mentioned, because while we can make light of it and we can gossip about it and we can laugh about it and we can send screenshots, there are real humans and real lived experiences on the other side of this. And many of those experiences, while we are not stars of Summer House, we can relate to. And I'm also wanting to note that you don't really get to control every situation in life, or really any of them, right? And these moments are things that can define you. They can make or break you, or you can redefine them. And that's really something that I want to see with Ciara, right? I've experienced what it feels like to be in the room, to have the space, to be able to take it up, but still to feel like when things get uncomfortable, I'm kind of on my own. And I want Ciara to know that that's not her story if she doesn't want it to be. And so I think something that I've been able to do throughout my career lately, I have an amazing space that I'm in now and amazing people around me. And I look back on my time, in FIMU, or on my time in high school as the first Black this or the first cheerleader, first only different. And I reflect on the lessons I learned, the people that did show up, but I also remember those who didn't. And that informs the way that I move through life now. And what has been so helpful to me is being able to make lemonade out of lemons, is being able to take a situation and own my narrative. And so I made the TikTok about this and everyone, was going crazy about it. But I think for Ciara, what I really want to see from her in this next chapter is, if she chooses to, let's be clear, she could say, chunking up the deuces. But if she chooses to, I just want her to be able to own her narrative, to tell her own story. So if that looks like coming on Bid on You, child, we'll be happy. Pull up a chair, okay? Or any of the other amazing shows out there to tell her side of things. But I don't want it to be this trauma dump for consumption. I want it to be a space where she sits down and she tells us, this is my background, kind of like what I'm telling you guys, and here's what I plan to do with it. Here's what I want to do next. And I want to take y'all on that journey with me. I want her to take us on that journey both virtually and through traditional media. I want the press out there. I want her popping up at the Met. I want her doing things with The Cut and with Cosmo and with Vogue, and really establishing herself, since she's a model, as this known model and figure in pop culture outside of just her reality TV realm. I want that to be the reality TV I want from Ciara. I want it to be controlled by her as a part of controlling her own narrative arc. I would love for her to have a show, her own show and her own channel on YouTube. She used to have a podcast, so maybe not necessarily bringing that back, but showing us like a CC in the city is what I said in the TikTok. And I really want her on YouTube, because YouTube really allows you to own your IP and to own the creative, right? And I think that that's a big part of what we miss out on with network shows and just other things of that nature. Is there's editing, there's things that are left on the cutting room floor that add a lot of color that we never get to see. And you really can be painted in any kind of way that serves the show and the direction it's going in. But I want her to have her own show on her channel and just show us what life looks like as CC in the city, as she rises like a phoenix from the ashes, right? Come with me to walk Fashion Week. Come with me to host the Met. I want all of that in episodic form. Here are me and my real friends hanging out, and here's how they held me up and helped me through this season. And here's how you can replicate a community like that in your own life. These are the things I want for her. And I just really want her to continue to establish herself as a staple for inclusivity, for representation, and for protection. I think this is a moment that we shouldn't waste the dialogue, because this is something that's horrible. It's painful, I'm sure. It's incredibly disappointing. And it's really, when I first heard it, infuriating. And I felt so many emotions, and I couldn't even put into words all that I was feeling, because I was like, this is not just a classic little drama for us to gossip about. This is so layered, and it just is a larger magnified replica of what so many of us experience on a day-to-day basis. And so I felt like it was important to have this conversation because not only do we need to understand that we deserve protection and we deserve to own our own narrative, and we can creatively find ways to do that. When these moments happen and we get knocked down, we get back up again. You hear what I'm saying? And we find a way forward. Our people always have. And that resilience, I think, and my grit has been one of the biggest things that have carried me through this life while experiencing so many things at such a young age and trailblazing and all of the excitement that comes with that and the change and the good people you meet along the way. But it can also be very painful, very isolating and traumatizing. And so I think that what I've been able to hold on to through those things, and what I hope Ciara gets to hold on to, and what I hope you get to take away from this, and really the heart of Bid on You, is believing that you are worth it. Okay? Believing that you can write your own story. Believing that despite the obstacles that are real, okay, and that will take a lot of effort to overcome if you so choose to do so, there's a path for you forward. There is a way that you can tell your own stories. There is a way that you can build your career and find the right allies and find the right advocates and move in wisdom to protect yourself in the process of that. There is a way forward, even when you feel embarrassed, when you feel underprotected, and when you feel like y'all see me, but you don't really see me. And for those who are on the other side who have the opportunity to help create that space, to help advocate, to be true allies, I hope that this is just a further encouragement for you to continue to do that work. And if you find yourself in a scenario where you like, have I been that friend? Take a moment to evaluate it. Take a moment to have true conversations. Reach out and say, hey, girl, I know we were gossiping about Summer House, but that actually led me into some further evaluation of our relationship. And is there a way I can show up for you better? Is there something that I can help take off of your plate so you don't feel like you always have the weight of the world on you? How can I be an ally to you specifically? I think that's a great question. It's a great place to start. And for Ciara and any girl out there who has been through something like this, the sun is going to shine again. Word to the prophetess Annie, it'll come out tomorrow. And I can't wait to see all the amazing things that you will do. And this will be the springboard. We will look back. I claim it and I name it, and know this was the pivotal moment that took you into the height of your career. So we can't wait to keep bidding on you and seeing where you end up. And for the girl watching this, I hope you learn from this that you can bid on you too, and you're worthy of people that actually show up and do the same. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.